Hey, what's up? Hope everyone's doing okay. So this is week 20, and I'm redoing week 20. Well, I explained a lot in week 21's video, but I'm just going back. And the main reason was because I had a post that I bought that I don't think I should have bought, and I shouldn't have put in my videos. And so now I'm just going back in a few videos where it was in there to just redo the video and redo that week, and just it was very positive at least that it wasn't like 10 different videos with it in there because I had to redo all of them, or maybe even like a month's worth 25, or not a month's worth a whole entire year's worth, or 25 different chapters. It could have been a lot worse. So this is week 20, and it's Second Chronicles 8 through 31. And when you have Chronicles, it seems like it's very interesting. It's like literally like chronological order, and so it seems to be taking place from beginning to the end. And so on Monday I have Queen of Sheba, and so the Queen of Sheba is obviously real interesting for me, at least because people always portray her as she's the Queen of the South, and so they assume that she came from Africa and she's black. But just like Jesus has long hair, and the way they portray Moses and stuff like that, I don't necessarily think that commercial Christianity has a good grip of what Queen Sheba looked like, or what she was, or how she presented herself. And so it's difficult because I have to unlearn what I've already learned, and so I have to kind of untake this image that commercial Christianity has presented to me, and to try to come up with a new image, or this new thought, or this new idea of who Queen Sheba actually was. And so that's difficult for me to do, but I've been trying to do it, and trying to relearn everything that I've already learned before. And it's a difficult thing to do, but I think it's really important to do, and it's kind of crucial, and it's an important skill to learn. And so the Queen of Sheba, I think it's very interesting because she obviously came from the South and she brought a lot of good stuff. But I mean, like, what prompted her to do that? Was she like having some kind of turmoil within her own country? Did she just come for wisdom in general? Was there a reason? Did she like Solomon? Did she want a king? What was her incentive to go? And it doesn't really necessarily say that, just merely that she heard of the wisdom of Solomon and she wanted to go test him. So maybe that was just primarily the only reason why, or there might have been other reasons as well. I mean, I think you can kind of go within your own life and your own things that are happening in your own reality, and you can put together a lot of things why she would do that, or why the possibilities were, at least. And so a lot of this, I think that the Bible is a lot about self-reflecting, and thinking about these things and reflecting why you would do them, or why these events would happen to these type of people that you see in your life. If not yourself, then maybe somebody that you know or you understand. And so second Tuesday I have Abijah, um, and I don't really know Second Chronicles 8 through 31, because I read this a few weeks ago, and so it's not super fresh in my mind. Um, but I usually have the ideas of each of these things. They're kind of chronological as I go through them. And the Queen of Sheba right here. So who is Abijah though? I mean, I could probably find it here. But that's the reason I'm going through the Bible through chronological order over and over again. So a lot of these people that I don't know or I don't understand, then they can make more sense to me. And usually I just use my phone to Google it, right? But King Asa. Oh, here it is, Abijah. Abijah slept with his dad, or slept with his fathers. When Abijah waxed great. So Abijah began to reign in Judah. He reigned 3 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Micaiah, the daughter of Uriel, and there was a war between Abijah and Jeroboam. So he was a king, and he warred against Rehoboam, and so he's warring against Israel, and God helped him. That God smote Jeroboam and all Israel before Abijah and Judah. So God was with Abijah. And so he might have been Solomon's son. No, because Solomon's son was, so he's the third. So Abijah's son reigned. Abijah was, or however say his name, he was after Solomon. So it was Solomon, then Rehoboam, and then Abijah. And so these people, these first three after him, they were really good. And then Asa, his son, reigned. And so that's what I have on Wednesday. So Abijah, I don't know exactly say his name, but he was the grandson of Solomon. He was a great-grandson of David. So you have David, and then you have Solomon, and then you have Rehoboam, and then Abijah, and then Asa. And, you have these kings, and then they have Judah, but they don't do like perfect by any means. But Abijah does pretty well, and he's just kind of known for this battle and fighting Jeroboam. And so, but he's definitely something to think about. And then Asa, and Asa did was good and right in the eyes of the Lord his God. Yeah, so you just have these different ones. Sorry, this wasn't super, just a part of my mind really that I've done really, really well. But like I said, I'm just learning these as I go, and but that's why I'm reading it, and that's why I'm going through it, from cover to cover, just to remember each of these people. And so then Thursday I have Jeshoshaphat, and I don't remember who Jeshoshaphat either. He was just another king after him. The reign was disease. Oh yeah, and also was disease in his foot. But he sought not to the Lord, but to his physician. So that's why he did all these things really well with God, but he sought to the Lord and not his physician. I think last week I was talking about like this idea that, when do you go to God when you have an injury? Do you not go to the doctors at all? But you want to make God your main priority. And then so also it's like this idea of, did Asa still do really good? He just didn't really have much of a situation that allowed him to do good because of people that he surrounded himself with. So, or just the people of the time, the generation of the time didn't allow him to be, didn't allow him not to suffer because the people around him hurt him possibly. And so I have this thing in my own life where I feel like sometimes the people around me cause me pain. And so I definitely make mistakes, but it's still my fault. I still have to pay for them. I have to be pruned. And I think it happens to a lot of people. Like there's people around you that hurt you and they cause stumbling blocks and you make mistakes, but you still have to be pruned. And just like they would hurt you normally, people are going to hurt you. They're going to hurt you by causing stumbling blocks in front of you. And so this is this difficult thing because it does say that Asa was like perfect in God's eyes, but then he made this mistake and didn't go to God when his feet hurt. And you see this a lot, or you see this I feel played out a few times where it will say that these people were perfect, but yet they make mistakes. So how can they be perfect, but yet make mistakes? Their heart was perfect, but just the situation that they're in, caused them to sin. And so sometimes I feel like you make mistakes that there's no justification for making those mistakes. Sometimes you make mistakes out of ignorance, and there's justification of your ignorance. And sometimes you make mistakes because the people around you create stumbling blocks that are almost impossible for you to overcome, but you still have to be pruned and you have to be changed. Because maybe this isn't the mistake that you paid for, but we're all sinners here, so we all have just punishment given to us, and we all deserve the pruning that we get, and we're lucky if we get pruned to be perfect in God's eyes. And then I have Jeshoshaphat as Thursday. What is Jeshoshaphat named for? Fear the Lord, for all the king of the land. So you make no war with Jeshoshaphat. Oh yeah, but then he went and joins with Ahab. But when he joins with Ahab, then they go and they lose the battle. But the God says if he would have destroyed Israel, the king that was with Israel, but for Jehoshaphat's sake, he stayed with him. But then what did Josephat did something? Yeah, it's just these different kings and the different things that they do, and they're really interesting stuff that happens to them. But yeah, I just, you know, and then Uzziah, I have for Friday, but like I don't remember these people unless I actually go through and like Google each one of them is. But as I go through, I'm hoping that I remember more of them, what each of them do. And I feel like I could spend a lot of time in Second Chronicles to go over this, because in First Chronicles it's really difficult because it talks about a lot of the kings of Israel and the kings of Judah, but in Second Chronicles it's just going over the kings of Judah. And so, I might take some time and go through all this, but I just think that it's, for me, like it's good for me to go through it each year and to just remember the different kings in the way that they played out, and just like the similarities between them, and not necessarily just the minute details for me right now, at least in my life and the way that I'm growing, because it makes sense to me, and this is definitely history, and I want to learn it. But it's hard to remember each of these different names, and it's hard to remember each of the different kings and what they did and how they are different and the events that played out, because sometimes I put together certain kings, what they did, but they did something completely different, but just remind me of a different king or a similar king in a similar situation, but it's just different. So like I'm trying to go about it, I'm trying to learn, and like I said, these presentations that I do, I know they're not exactly great, but hopefully as I grow and I can do better and I can remember each one of these kings and what they do, then I can get better at it. So for those that bear with me, I really appreciate it, and I hope everyone's doing okay. God bless and happy truth seeking.